This morning's guest is not in the Navy, but he's an officer and a gentleman. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Bell & Bell, Buick, Pontiac, GMC. Here where Highway 9 and 31 meet, at the Big Red Bell. We're focused on the U.S. Marine Corps, and we're visiting with Lieutenant Colonel Joe Paschall of the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force at Camp Lejeune. Good morning, Lieutenant Colonel Paschall. Wow, how about that? Joe, can I say Joe?
Yeah, I imagine.
Just while we're here on air this morning, Joe worked.
Yeah, well, since I've known you 30 years.
That's right, that's right. We got to let that out. We've got a connection from Durham, and of course you've got a Duke shirt on. My family will be thrilled to see that when they watch you on air. It's very exciting, Joe. You were in Myrtle Beach last week on vacation.
Oh yeah, it's a great place. Try to come back there as often as I can. Unfortunately, I just can't get back, that often, with the job and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the kids love it down there.
Absolutely. A lot going on in Myrtle Beach, of course, in the summertime. And y'all were staying up in North Myrtle Beach. How'd y'all find that place?
Well, actually, a good friend of ours, Greg Everett, you might know him, forwarded us to, a couple of realtors, Elliott Realty.
Elliott Realty, that's right, very popular.
They hooked us up with a very nice resort up in the Windy Hills section. It's a great place right on the beach.
On the beach. So y'all spent a lot of time out on the beach. How about some good restaurants in the area?
Oh, yeah. We always have to hit, matter of fact, Preston's is our favorite. I think every time I've ever been to Myrtle Beach, we've hit Preston's. The kids love it. And I think we went to the Ocean Garden the last night.
That Chinese restaurant, that's right.
Yeah, great place. Well, having 4 little kids, under the age of 11, you pretty much got to go to a buffet because, we try to go to something that the wife and I prefer, like Outback. If you got a 30-minute wait, you're not entertaining 4 little kids, for a 30-minute wait. So that's the kind of thing that we go to for just the wife and I. But when we got the 4 kids, it's pretty much a buffet because that way you can get small portions for each of the kids. They can see what they want right there, and otherwise, it's total pain in the butt, with the kids trying to order from the menu.
Great thinking, Joe. I need to take him and Claire to buffets more often.
Yeah, you should.
That's a great idea. We don't go because I eat so much of those buffets,
and
it's good I can't look like you.
It's good for you.
The more buffets I go to.
That's good.
You grew up not in the Palmetto State, Joe. You grew up in the Tar Heel State. I hate to say Tar Heel when you're wearing a Duke shirt. But
I know that does kind of irk me. People, especially people not from North Carolina, always say, "Oh, well, you're a Tar Heel," and of course I'm like, "No, actually a Blue Devil," which is, the diametrically opposed to being a Tar Heel. But people outside of North Carolina consider you being a Tar Heel if you're from the state. So,
did you grow up always thinking, "I want to attend Duke. I'm going to go to Duke. That's my place"?
Well, funny enough, I did, although, when I was younger, always wanted to go to Duke, and as I got closer to actually applying to colleges, and I realized how hard Duke was to get into, I scaled that back a little bit, and the funny thing was, I actually threw the application away.
No.
It was funny because Duke's a fairly expensive school, and, didn't really have that kind of money. And so, I had good SAT scores, decent grades, but I really didn't think I was, going to be able to get into Duke. And so when I got the application, just kind of tossed it because it was, at the time, it was $35 application fee. And I thought, Dad, I'm not wasting $35. How about UNC Chapel Hill? Things that I knew I could get into and places that I knew my friends were going. I didn't have really that many friends going to Duke.
Going to Duke, yeah.
And so, Dad dragged it out of the trash. He dragged many things out of the trash. Matter of fact, the other story is he dragged my Navy ROTC scholarship application out of the trash as well.
No way.
Because, I was getting, when you get good SAT scores, you start getting, it's pretty much spam. You're just getting a lot of things mailed to you. And, I was weeding through them every day. I'd have a stack of mail every day of stuff that I got. 90% of it is stuff you're not going to be interested in. So I was just, tossing it away. And, I got the ROTC scholarship thing, and I'm like, I'm not joining the military. Are you crazy? I tossed that. And Dad pulls it out of the trash and says, hey, says here, free college. All you got to do is go in the Navy for 4 years.
Right.
And, you would apply. I'm like, Navy? Why would I go in the Navy for 4 years? Like, because it's free college. And then, he put the 2 and 2 together. You go to the Navy for 4 years, free college, then you can apply to Duke. And so dragged the 2 of them out of the trash, literally. And, so it was pretty funny. I ended up applying to both and getting both. So of course could afford to go to Duke all of a sudden by virtue of the Navy ROTC scholarship. And yeah, that's how I ended up there. But quite honestly, I did throw both of them in the trash.
That is a great story. I've never heard that before. Yeah. That's a tremendous story. So when you figured out it was the 2 and 2 together, or the 1 and 1 together, but that you would take advantage of the Navy ROTC piece, did that make you think, oh, I can even apply to Harvard or other schools, or was it still Duke was so tough to get into anyway? Yeah.
Actually, I had never really thought of Harvard. Of course, Harvard, not only is it hard to get into, but it's also way up north. So it was, unlike your brother Rob, of course you had the family legacy in Harvard, so you kind of think about Harvard.
So, yeah.
But I never really thought any farther beyond Duke because in my family there's really not a college history on either side.
Is that right? So, either Ted or Sandra?
Yeah, actually, I had a cousin who graduated from NC State a year before me, and she was the first from either side to go to college.
Is
beat
that
me by
right?
a year. Yeah, she graduated from NC State. So there wasn't any legacy or history there that kind of pushed me in either direction. So Duke, of course, where we grew up was that was the big thing going. It's probably about the highest that a local guy would aspire to, unless you're given an out of town legacy or something.
Absolutely. For our viewers who don't know the Triangle well, and of course Dad was with us. Robinson Everett was with us last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We were filming at East of Chicago Pizza, and it was real exciting to hear him talk about him growing up in Durham. He was born there in 1928. Were you actually born in Durham, or?
Well, funny enough, I was born in Washington D.C., but that's a little known fact because I was adopted at birth. So I was really only born in Washington, and my mom and dad were waiting there to pick me up.
No.
And so I think I was probably 4 days old when I came to Durham.
I did know that.
I was essentially, my entire life I grew up in Durham, including, 4 years of college. So it really, I was 21 when I left Durham for the first time, but yeah, technically born in D.C.
I did not know that. That's amazing. And, I don't have distinct memories of your father. I do, of course, of your mother. But did Ted and Sandra have deep roots in the Triangle or in the Durham area?
Well, my mom is from Georgia, so I think she was born in Georgia, and they all moved to North Carolina, I think, when she was, younger, like, 10, 11.
Sure.
My dad was born in Durham, and actually the Paschall side of the family has been in North Carolina since 1740.
Is that right?
But mostly in Granville County is where they all started out. So, the roots in Durham, I think my grandfather was the first of the Paschall generation to move into Durham, but my dad was born there, so I essentially claim Durham.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. And of course, right now, home is both Camp Lejeune as well as where you're heading back this weekend.
Well, we say in the Marine Corps home is where the Marine Corps sends you, so that's where my home has been for the last 2 decades. It's just, wherever I happen to be. It seems that I spent, most folks in the Marine Corps, you spend a good portion of your career at either Camp Lejeune, Camp Pendleton, or Okinawa. And you kind of make one or the other your home base and keep coming back again. And Camp Lejeune has been that for me because it's kind of close to home. And this is my 3rd tour at Camp Lejeune, and so that's the closest something I can call home right now.
You also spent a good bit of time, though, at Pendleton, Camp Pendleton. Is that right?
3 years. I did 3.5 years out there, younger, when I was a captain, just to see what the left coast was all about. But the weather was good, the food was good, but on the whole, I had to come back.
You had to get back east. How about Okinawa? Have you spent any time there at all?
Never set foot on Okinawa, which is kind of something I wear as a badge of honor because most Marines spend a lot of time on Okinawa, and Okinawa for us in the Marine Corps is where you do a lot of exercises. It's just typically I don't want to say marginalized portion of the Marine Corps, but traditionally over the past 20 years at least, it's not been one of the more operationally involved assignments going to Okinawa, and I've tried to stay more mainstream, and the mainstream is Pendleton and Lejeune. And so I've managed to avoid an assignment to Okinawa by virtue of doing a lot of deployments from Pendleton and Lejeune. When in the Marine Corps, we have what's called an overseas control date, and whenever if you've done 2 deployments at your current duty station, be it Pendleton, Lejeune, or wherever, you get the ability to pick your next assignment, and they can't send you to Okinawa because you've already done your deployed time. And I've always done my deployed time and never had anybody in position to tap me on the shoulder and say you have to go to Okinawa. So, and of course I'm retiring from Lejeune, after I get back from Iraq here. So, I'll be able to avoid that.
You'll be retiring next summer, Joe. That's a big deal after
20 years.
20 years. That's amazing. That's amazing. Of course, I think you mentioned before we started filming earlier this morning that those 4 years of ROTC at Duke do not count towards that 20.
No, and they probably shouldn't, because you know, I was probably doing a lot more drinking and partying than actually work. So yeah, they probably shouldn't count. But we did, you know, technically wear a uniform occasionally. You did do training in the summer, that type of thing. It was very much like being a reservist, which is what it was, Reserve Officer Training Corps.
Okay.
But it doesn't count as active duty time.
And of course, in that, did you have an opportunity? You could pick either the Navy or the Marines then at the end of the 4 years at Duke there. What was it about the Marines? Is that it's a special breed maybe, or what was it about the Marines that made you know, I don't think I'll be in the Navy?
Well, you know, it's
or you are really in the Navy. That's right.
No.
Or you don't want to answer this on camera?
No.
Yeah.
No, I was about to kick you under the table. No. Well, you know, as I said, I don't really have a military history in the family either, so there wasn't anything pulling me to, you know, one service or another. I remember at the time, your mom and dad, of course, were pushing me towards the Air Force.
Right,
with your dad, you know, having been in the Air Force
absolutely,
for
long tenure there.
I mean, my mom was pushing me towards the Air Force as well, because she talked to your mom, and you know, they had decided, well, that's so much easier. Well, just go in the Air Force. It will be so much easier for you, you know.
Right.
But you know, I got the Navy scholarship, and so I had thought I would stay in the Navy because I was sure that the Navy was a lot easier than the Marine Corps. And at the time, when you get the scholarship, you get a piece of paper with 2 boxes. Do you want to be in the Navy or the Marine Corps? And you just check one. It's that simple. Check Navy or Marine Corps. And I can still picture that piece of paper in front of my face, and I'm thinking, Marine Corps? I'm not checking that box. You crazy? Check the Navy, because it's easier. Well, you know, I didn't know anything about either one.
Right.
And after, I hope I don't offend any of our fine Navy veterans here in the Grand Strand area.
Right.
But, you know, after my first cruise at sea with the Navy, when you kind of see what the Navy's about, I realized there's just no way that I could be part of that. And not that it was, you know, a hard or a rough life, but the Navy and the Marine Corps are very similar in some aspects, but drastically different in the officer and enlisted relations. Because in the Navy, now I'm probably going to, you know, offend someone here, but in the Navy Officer Corps has always had a bit of an elitist aspect to it, and there's a great separation between officer and enlisted. The officers and the Navy chiefs have a lot of privileges, and they're very much into the rank has its privileges. The Marine Corps is a lot different. It's more like rank has the responsibility to serve and take care of the troops. It's a different focus. And it sounds like something small, but it's something huge when you come to look at the culture. And you know, as I said, I don't come from a college background, so any of my relatives that had been in the military had been enlisted, were staff non-commissioned officers. So when I saw what I consider dysfunctional relations between officer and enlisted personnel in the Navy, that's what really turned me off. And you know, it wasn't that the organization wasn't running fine, and of course my perspective was just the one ship that I was on at the time, and maybe that was just, you know, maybe things were exacerbated on that ship a little bit. But yeah, the officer enlisted relationships were horrible. There was a lot of you know, it seemed to me that the officers looked at the enlisted personnel with derision, and the enlisted personnel looked at the officers with disrespect. And I thought, that's not for me. And meanwhile, all the guys I'd met at that point in time, keep in mind, you know, at this point I'm only 18 years old, my perspective is limited, but the Marines, you know, it seemed to me that the officer and enlisted relations were a lot tighter. And with, you know, with my blue collar background, I thought, yeah, you know, that's kind of the route that I need to go. So when I came back from that, that was my freshman cruise after my freshman year at college. I went in to see the Marine captain and said, you know, sir, you know, I'd like to be a Marine. I really, you know, I can't be in the Navy was what I was saying. Not that I really want to be a Marine that bad, but I just can't be in the Navy.